Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ellensburg, Washington, USA, home of Central Washington University, on Thursday, May 22nd, 2025. Looks like we're loud and clear. We'll go ahead and get on camera here and say hi to a number of you. Hope that everything is going well for you wherever you are. Wherever you are. Hello, everybody. The local time is 11:50 a.m. Pacific time on a Thursday, and 10 minutes from now we will begin yet another lecture involving the Ellensburg Formation in Geology 351. Where are you viewing from today? This evening, for those of you in Europe, Gary Paul's been in Scotland. I'm keeping an eye out for Gary, but he's probably busy. Stefano, hello, from Italy, Marion, Virginia, Cleveland, Ohio, raise the roof, Spokane Valley, Washington, Newport, Washington, Olympia, Washington, Payson, Arizona. Kalamazoo Gary is back live with us. Hannah Shamlu is admiring the painting in my office. Thank you, Gary. And your wife, can't remember her name. Milwaukee, Oregon, Asheville, North Carolina, Edgewater, Florida, Winter Gardens, California, lots of warm, sunny places. Bend, the Netherlands, Tri-Cities, Washington, Columbus, Oregon, Stevensville, Montana. All sorts of homework happening behind me. It's nice to hear that. They're concentrating. Pearland, Texas, y'all. San Tan Valley, Arizona. Hello, Rex. Santa Fe, New Mexico. Randall, Washington. Springfield, Oregon. Marysville, Washington. Pamplona, Spain. Hello, Bernadette. And so on. We'll give you a shot at the front of the room, give you a sense of the chalkboards, and then we'll let the room kind of liven up on its own. So thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed today's episode entitled Unroofing the Cascades. Well, we can even do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. What up, girl? Matthew. Jackson?
When it made almond milk and it was not worth it.
Yeah, it's
Shelling almonds, steaming almonds.
yeah.
There it
Well, you got to see this. We actually have a student sitting in the sun. Doesn't happen that often. Oh, you can't even see the guy. He's off frame to the right, but I like this guy, whoever he is. He's just sitting there enjoying the world. It's a rarity these days for people to just sit in the sun and do nothing. I almost want to swing the camera around to him, but I guess I won't. I guess I won't. Everything going okay with you? How's your health? How's the family? Uh-huh. Oh, you don't say. Oh, sure. It's my memory of my mother talking on a landline phone growing up. She was always chatting with somebody, and there was a lot of, she was a good listener. So it'd just be a lot of, uh-huh. Oh, oh, my heaven's sakes. Oh, Bernice. Okay, well, yeah. Well, that'll happen. Oh, sure. Yeah, boys are fine. I got to start concentrating. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing fine. Hey, good job last time. Yeah, no, last time in our session, our classroom session. Good job.
With what?
You participated. Nothing's easy these days. Nothing's easy. No such thing as a casual exchange. No such thing.
No such thing.
No. No.
Does not
There must be deeper meaning. What does he mean? He's talking to me. What does he really mean? Well, maybe I just want to talk about coffee.
I was analyzing your shirt earlier.
You were, right? You were. What does it mean? It's like a flag going up the flagpole. Yeah, that's the time of the year.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Oh, wow.
I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't. So
I gave you all the permission in the world.
I know, but I'll regret it if I don't. And I'll regret it if I
You're
do.
busy. You have to work tonight.
I can sleep in the van on my way to Oregon tomorrow. Right, Jess?
Yeah, regret the things you do, not the things you don't do.
So I'm going.
Now, that's the way you feel now.
No, I'm going. Nick.
This lecture is going to suck, and you're going to hate this class in the next 45 minutes, and you could.
Then
you
the
would
field
be,
trip's gonna make me feel better because this class sucked.
wow, you're
And
stubborn. I can't talk you out of it now. Ryan.
Oh, I can.
I don't have access
How am I going to do this, Austin? How am I going to do this?
How are you gonna do what?
How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Do that. Maybe that. Call in Austin. Then I do that. And I call in Austin again.
Sounds great.
Crucify Austin in front of everybody.
You know what? Sounds like a plan.
No.
I can be on that.
You're too not. No, no, no. How am I going to do this?
Are you excited? I mean, are you pissed off or nervous?
Yeah, both. Both.
You're pissed because I'm going. You're so mad that I'm going on the field trip now?
I'm just off balance. I never know where I stand. You going? You're not going? You're going? You're not going? You're welcome.
Went home for another 30 minutes, had to come back.
Is that a diet bomb?
Was late for that. But like, I knew I was going to do something, so. Yeah, we went shopping. We didn't get back last night. With coach, push funky same spot.
Loopy. I'm loopy. I'm loopy. I'm loopy.
James was in the bathroom. He started trying to talk to us, but like, I couldn't tell if he was a speaker or if it was. So, well, no, we're in Yak Park. Oh, it's even worse. Exactly. So that's why I couldn't tell. And so I'm like trying to engage in conversation. He fully engages in conversation. And then walks away. Oh, she goes, and then she just
Ryan holding court.
walks away. And
How do I stop Ryan from telling stories? I know. I'll start. Good morning, young people. Young people, I am an older person. You are younger than I am, and we are all here together. We are all here together to celebrate the wonder of geology. I'm taking keys out of my pocket for no apparent reason. We are settling in. There's good energy in the room. I want to harness that energy the best that I can. Some of you just arrived. So you're like, what's up today? We're unroofing the Cascades today. I have your attention. I can feel the good energy right now. I don't want to burn any more of it without saying something real. Here we go. Bold. If you want to figure out how old a river canyon is, you need to leave the canyon. And if you want to go and figure out how old a mountain range is, specifically when the mountain range lifted and formed high elevations, you need to leave the mountains. That's a weird thing to say, but if you're really listening right now, it kind of makes sense. Can you verbalize why it makes sense? Why do you need to leave the river canyon? Why do you need to leave the mountains to answer fundamental questions about the creation? Luke.
Because you have runoff and deposition of the materials that were once in that canyon?
That's true. You have runoff and deposition of materials that were once in that canyon. Let's stick with the river for a second. Let's build off of what Luke said. I mean, I want to be in Hell's Canyon. I'm interviewing Lydia tomorrow. She sent me the paper. It is shockingly young. She's carving that canyon in less than 2 million years. But she's got evidence, I think, I don't know, I haven't read the paper yet, outside of the canyon. Let's keep going with this, Jack.
Older pulses of volcanism that's made it further away from the range itself.
Okay, now Jackson's switching to the mountains. We're kind of doing both apples and oranges at the same time. Here's, I think, what I want to say before we lose this vibe right now. Thank you for playing. We'll keep going. If you cut a river, or if you uplift a mountain range, that's a high energy event. Those are high energy events. And you're taking so much material away. I think that's what Luke was saying in so many words. You're taking so much material away that you're just furiously erasing. Once upon a time, we had pencils, young people, with erasers right on the end of the fucking pencils. And we would just erase and erase and erase and erase, and all that lead would go, all that writing would go away. And where did it go? It went on the floor. Oh, Daddy's proud of himself right now. We're not going to keep on the piece of paper to keep saying, what happened to my text that I just wrote with my pencil? I got to go find the scraps of the eraser and even the pieces of lead, if you're willing to go along with me. They're on the floor. The high energy places are not the place to get the clues. The clues are in quieter places nearby. Okay, I have you now. So we're going to unroof the Cascades, and I want to use, we'll see if it works, a buzzsaw and sawdust. I just want to imagine timbers and some sort of circular buzzsaw, like, I don't know, up here, like in this room, I guess, some cartoonish big circular buzzsaw. Why is it up there? I have no idea. But we're going to start taking all these plywood sheets and other 2x4s, and we're going to start lifting our lumber up to the buzzsaw, and the buzzsaw is just going to start chewing away, and we're just going to keep lifting that stuff higher and higher, chew more and more of it away, and where is the sawdust literally going to go? It's going to go someplace where it can settle. It's not going to stay in this place where we're lifting the lumber. I'm talking about mountains now. But it's kind of true with rivers as well. The river's cutting and cutting and cutting through the lumber, and the sawdust is being flushed downstream. So this concept of the mountains, now we're talking about today, the Cascades, is where we have the buzzsaw, and the buzzsaw is chewing and eroding and removing bedrock because we're uplifting. And the lower and upper Ellensburg, I think I really just want to say upper, the upper Ellensburg is where we're going today. And you're like, oh really, for the first time? No, we've been in the upper Ellensburg for a while, but I'm trying to give you a new reason to care about the Ellensburg Formation, the upper Ellensburg Formation, because we have the sawdust that has filled this basin, and there's multiple basins, is coming directly from the uplifted Cascades. I think you had the concept, but we're just going to flesh things out and find a couple of new key spots, including a rainbow being turned upside down, which should make no sense to anybody. Nick from South Africa.
At the risk of sounding ignorant, what is Central Washington built on? What layer? Or is that just, are we just built on bedrock?
Is this your first day?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's your question? What's the bedrock of Central Washington?
Curious.
Well, talk to your classmates. We've been doing it the whole quarter. The flood basalts, and we're going to talk about bedrock in the Cascades. Good Lord, man, wake up. Let's go. An announcement quick. We have a real, true, honest-to-God field trip today, meaning 4 field stops, meaning outcrops, meaning a field geologist leading the trip. Andrew Sadowski, you remember him. He made a brief appearance a month ago, I suppose, by now. So Andrew's going to ride with me in the car. The 2 vans are going to follow. I emailed you all the details of the trip, including Google pins and everything, so we don't get lost, but we'll keep you behind me. And we're going to visit mostly barely Ellensburg deposits. We're back down into the Grand Ronde. So if you noticed, I have I've licked my fingers like I'm going to grab one. You have that handout, but I think it's going to be useful as we're wandering around between these 4 spots. So if you're joining us today, wonderful. You might have another handy. You can grab one on the way out or whatever. But we're departing at 1:15. That's our normal spot, right? Our normal time. Sabrina's driving one van. We'll have another van driven by somebody, and then there's me. We good there? Great opportunity to learn directly from Andrew. Okay, that's the bold open, including Nick's still mystifying question. We're moving on. It's time for some geography, I think. And the geography, I think, is important right now, but we're not doing the unroofing yet. I think if I tell you the unroofing story, which I'm excited to tell you about, it involves that colorful quilt behind Sage's bike. I think we need to make sure we know where we are. I've been casually using these terms and these places, but I doubt most of us have the detail quite yet. So let's try. Don't spend 20 minutes on this, he tells himself. State of Washington, Ellensburg, Yakima. 30-minute drive between Ellensburg and Yakima if you've never been. They got a Costco. Cascade Mountain Range, north-south. We're good. Cascades have been low most of their life, 40 million years of Cascades, but almost all of those 40 million years is low elevation, a very subtle mountain range. For a series of millions of years, there was no Cascades. I'll comment on that in just a bit. Like literally nothing. Flat drive to Seattle. That's kind of cool to think about it. But our high Cascades, so far in this class, we've decided that started 3 million years ago, which is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. But we're now today wondering if that number 3 is the best way for us to think about this. New information for me as well as you. There's a bunch of ridges in central Washington. Tandem Ridge is kind of like the others, maybe a little bit bigger, I don't know. But I think Tandem Ridge is important. And that's new for me, just in reading under the oak tree with the yellow pen the last couple of afternoons. I think Tandem Ridge is our line of demarcation. And I'm now trying to talk about these symbols that I'm just trying to get established. Some of you have already figured it out. Others need every step of the way. So I'm zooming out now. I'm zooming in. So here's the state of Washington, and I'm giving you these same features here in a little bit more detail. Ellensburg, Yakima, Costco, 30 minutes. You can drive the Canyon Road, or you can drive the freeway. If you drive the freeway, you've done the freeway, right? 3 major ridges. And the second of the 3 is this Tandem Ridge. This yellow line here is Tandem Ridge. You can see Tandem Ridge. We all went over Tandem Ridge last Thursday. That was Ellensburg Pass. We met at the parking lot at Tandem Falls. We went up and over Ellensburg Pass right here and dropped into the Weenass. Still legal in 3 states, including Washington. Why am I hammering this Tandem Ridge business? The answer is, we have Upper Ellensburg Formation, cobbles, ash fall, ash flow, lahars, all this stuff we're starting to work more and more carefully upon. And we have Upper Ellensburg, south of Tandem Ridge, ash flows, ash falls, lahars, the whole thing. And up until this week, I just thought this was all one continuous blanket. I thought this was all just one apron of the same stuff. And even Tuesday, so this is like literally 2 days ago, I'm saying, I don't know, maybe Gary Smith could find an airfall tough and find it in all this stuff and then make a regional story. You remember that? Okay, well, a few things. Gary's watching. Got an email from Gary last night. He said, really fun to see my work is being discussed by you guys, and just a kick that some of you are like giving detailed notes and reporting on what Gary was saying. So he's retirement age. So he's following along. And he said, I did look for some toughs, and Nick, I have a paper that has some dates. So that was new last night at 10 o'clock, getting this email from Gary. And it's on the website already. So we're coming to that, so that's fresh for me. But here's the point I'm leading to. Unless I'm proven otherwise, this stuff is coming from here, and this stuff is coming from here. And Tandem Ridge, even though it hasn't been dominantly more than 1,000 feet high, I think there was enough of a divide, even back when these systems were active, that there's a basaltic fence. Tandem Ridge is a basaltic fence. It's a ridge that is high enough to not allow rivers to easily cross to the north or to the south. Now, maybe we'll get to something before we quit in this class where I find that there's an exception and that there really is stuff flowing from Old Scab and heading towards Thorpe. I'm not giving up on that entirely, but at least from Gary's work 40 years ago, it seems like there's 2 separate systems. Can I get reaction from anybody so far? Gavin.
I mean, it doesn't seem completely implausible that we would have 2 separate systems.
Okay.
That have minimal contamination between the 2.
Yeah.
The salt is hard to get through the rivers and takes a while.
So Gavin says, it doesn't seem surprising to Gavin that we would have 2 separate systems because basalt is difficult to erode through, I think is what I'm hearing you say. I'll add to that, Gavin, in that there has been a long structural framework of northwest to southeast. And so our rivers, even today, are flowing northwest, southeast, and other things. And so why wouldn't we have this set up less than 10 million years ago? Jess?
Do we have ages on everything?
That's coming. So from last time, what did we have? Gary was working within what time frame from our discussion last time? I probably changed the numbers a couple times. 11 to 7 is really the wheelhouse that Gary was, from the paper that you read, 11 million years ago until 7 million years ago. And again, the paper I got last night from Gary had some detailed dates, some of them from the stuff that fell out of the sky. Remember, we were hunting for that, and he was hunting for that. He found some. And I haven't even looked at the numbers yet. Are you heading somewhere with that, or you just want to know roughly?
Well, if we're between 11 and 7,
Yeah?
we haven't uplifted until 3, then we've got some issues.
Okay, Jess says, let's not screw around. Jess is like, if we've got this story and we have a basaltic fence that's big enough to make a boundary as early as 7 or even earlier than that, then why are we even still talking about 3 as the main story when everything lifts? I agree. And the theme today is when we get to the unroofing story, that's also going to be a vote against things as young as 3. James?
What about the Yakima River?
Sure. We were playing last week about everything starting 3, and so the Yakima River, we all know that it's crazy meandering. Maybe last week we were thinking, and we were pushing it. I think if you go back and watch that, I was using my words carefully, like we're probably going to get talked off of this, but what if everything was as young as 3 and we don't have any canyons until 3? That was really, pushing it to the extreme. So James is saying if this is a basaltic rib already, or a fence or a ridge separating 11 to 7, do we have some hint of a canyon already, is what you're asking.
Yeah, and then I think I would expect something from the Cooper area to make its way down here.
Okay, you're ahead of us now, and we're going there. Let's be clear then. So what I think I'm hearing, and I have to admit I've been reading ahead, okay? So I'm not going exactly each day with you guys. So I've already read next week's paper. I know what I want to do, and I'm steering us that way a little bit. So there's a place called Cooper Lake, which is up at the north end of Lake Cle Elum. It's in the foothills of the Cascades. It's forested. It's got, it's idyllic up there. Cabins, everything. People live in Ellensburg, and they've got cabins up at Cooper Lake. Someplace up there, I've never looked at a map yet, there's a plug of dacite that's in the neighborhood of 11 to 7. And so far in this class, the upper Ellensburg, near Thorpe, yes, including the White Cliffs that you've all been to multiple times, 101 Lab and others, I guess it's coming right down the Yakima River drainage essentially, and it's coming from a place called, we'll just say Cooper Lake, or Cooper Pass, we'll just say Cooper. But today, and at least one of 2 meetings next week, we're going to be down here. And these words are the names of the basins. There's also little towns, but the Weenass Basin, the Natchis Basin, the Nile Basin, the Sela Basin. These are all kind of sub-little boxes, sand boxes, where the sawdust is accumulating. So you've already lost the sketch, but can you remember that the Cascades are here? So the buzzsaw, are you with me? The buzzsaw is lifting, and rivers are taking the sawdust out of the active buzzsaw area and sending it mainly to the east. Now, I can't hold it. I don't think we're going to have enough time. We're running out of lectures. But I keep hearing about rumors, and they're just that at this point. I keep hearing of rumors of sawdust to the west as well. And now we're in the trees. And that's news to me, but in papers, and I think a couple even geologists talking to me off camera for a change, they're like, hey man, I think there's some Ellensburg Formation in western Washington. You got to be shitting me. That would be sweet to chase that down. Because who says we have to have all the sawdust becoming one way? Well, we got rivers flowing away from the divide of both. But we got our hands full with just trying to pull out some stories here. So you know this, Old Scab Mountain, that's the dacite plug, that is the source that we're heading to. And you're like, I reread that paper I was supposed to read for this week. I don't see much about Old Scab. Well, that's me reading ahead. We're going to get to a master's thesis, and it's Old Scab, Old Scab, Old Scab for sure. So circle with an X in it, that's the source of the dacite. And so much of the material, especially in the lahars and the primary volcanic deposits, are monolithologic. They're dacite, dacite, dacite. We're about to switch gears into the main part of today, but I'm pausing. Anything else you want to say? I love the energy today. Tuesday was confusing to me, but I love today so far. You're like, it's silent just like it was. No, it's different. It's a different silence. You're like, I want to do the unroofing. Okay. Good. So I think I have this planned out just right. I wanted to do 2 boards at the same time, maybe even 3. There's nothing on this one board yet. So now there's an advantage to people who were watching what I was doing this past winter. Some of you know that I had a major family emergency, and so I took a full month off of that whole thing once I got it started in early November. But then I was happy to have this distraction to come back to. And I was doing the Cascades A to Z, and most of the people watching live were part of that community. Jess and Julie I know, and maybe a few others were watching regularly. I'm going to try to summarize a couple of very key parts of this entire winter. So that's like, 2-hour live streams times 26. It's a lot of time. And a warning, I'm going to use a color system that's potentially confusing because we've been doing blue and red this whole class. And this blue and red is the color scheme we were using this past winter. So this does not mean Cascade yes and Cascade no, okay? This is just, I'm reporting on the color scheme. And what am I doing? Am I just out of material and I'm just stalling and saying, here's what I learned during my winter vacation? No. Faye, in particular, got us going on the unroofing thing that Gary was kind of talking about cryptically in that paper, and also talked about late in the conversation on Zoom. Here's the quilt. Come on, come on. Thank you. So one of the viewers, do you remember me saying this when we started? I'm literally going to use it today. So these colors are in the order of this scheme. Pick it up. Here we go. There's all sorts of bedrock in the Cascades. You're like, no shit. Nick wants to know about the bedrock in Central Washington, but now we're talking about the bedrock in the Cascades. And if you look at a jagged skyline in the Cascades, the bedrock in that jagged skylines, wherever you are in the Washington Cascades, is older than 60 million years old. That's wrong. It's older than 20 million years old. Imagine looking, Jack, right now on a crystal clear sky and you see the skyline of the Cascades and you see ridges that are up above our valley. You can see peaks occasionally, but it's jagged. It's not the stratovolcanoes like Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, and so on. What I'm emphasizing is that the cones that we all classically call the Cascades, yeah, they're in the Cascades. Yeah, they're the sexiest part of the Cascades. They are all younger than 1 million years old. And so we have a huge age gap between the bedrock at this jagged skyline and below 20 million years ago, 30 million years ago, 50 million years ago, 100 million years ago, with all sorts of stories. I'm talking about bedrock now. I'm not talking about the Ellensburg Formation. And then we jump to less than 1. So we're missing like 19 million years of stuff. Who's with me? Why are we missing 19 million years of stuff? The sawdust got taken away because of the buzzsaw, because of the uplift. You got it, Jack. So even from this cartoonish view, where's all this bedrock? We should have bedrock going all through the teens. This is like, I'm talking in decades now. All through the teens and through the aughts, we got nothing or very, very little. So before I get busy with the colors, do you have the concept? We've got all this sawdust in the Ellensburg Basin that is a mismatch with the age of the bedrock that's in the mountains. I watched the replay of Tuesday. A bunch of the viewers were like, is he saying there isn't any dacite in the mountains? And maybe I gave you that impression. Maybe you even wrote it down. There's no dacite in the Cascades. That's not true. What I meant to say, if I didn't on Tuesday, is that there's not the dacite of the appropriate age, 11 to 7. We're missing that appropriate age of the dacite because we got dacite in spades in the sawdust basins. Okay, you're going to have to take a step, take this step by step with me. I have about 80% of you. Got 4 championship yawners that are doing everything but being with us here in the room. Now, you might even just leave right now. I don't know, it would just be helpful. You've got other things to do and you're clearly someplace else. All right. So I'm going to do this quickly. I was going to use each color, but I guess I'm not. I'm going to do it quickly though. If you look at the oldest bedrock in the Cascades, older than 60 million years old, that is Arcosic. There's a lot of stuff, but most famously it's Arcosic sandstone, part of something called the Russell Ranch, Melange. It's ugly looking rock. It's exposed at Rimrock, it's exposed at Rimrock Reservoir, it's exposed at White Pass most famously, but this oldest of the bedrock is at the surface in certain places. I'm going to put a star down here because this stuff is so old that it's exotic to North America. It's from Mexico. It's from other places even more exotic than that. It's not our topic today, for sure, in this class. But there are some shockingly old stories from the oldest bedrock in the Cascades. I had a color for each of these decades. That's what this is about. So we literally had a color called grello, where we mixed gray with yellow. So that's why it's gray on the quilt and yellow here. I don't have grello colored chalk. Then we get into the 50s. Do you know what we're doing? We're talking about bedrock in the Cascades. Now we're between 59 and 50 million years ago. It's kind of a, don't worry about it, not helpful to us today because it got eroded pretty quickly after it got deposited. It's technically the Swak Formation and the Chumstick Formation, the Chuckanut Formation, but not important to us here. I'd say the blue is also not the, no, I do want to do it. So the Cascade volcanic arc and the subduction of an oceanic plate and the actual Cascade-looking scene tectonically starts in the blue time, in the 40s. And so we have early days of the Cascades. And you may be aware, do I still have it? No. You may be aware that basalts, andesites, dacites, and rhyolites are all common in a volcanic arc. All 4 of those compositional types. You have it from the igneous rock classification chart we drew last time. And so we get this BADR, all these different silica compositions in the volcanic suite that's in this bedrock, really starting for the first time in the 40s. I'm building for something in case you're confused. Then we get into the 30s and we have mostly volcaniclastic stuff that's submarine. This green time, this 30s, if you're up on your literature for some reason, that's the Ohanapikosh Formation. The green rocks. Well, some of you are in Hannah's isotope geochemistry class. Did anybody sample the Ohanapikosh for that? That's you guys? Okay, yeah. So you've been working with green rocks all quarter? Nice. So yeah, Hannah was watching the alphabet and that gave her the idea to do the framework, the narrative that you guys have been doing in 483 this quarter. So lavas, plenty of them, some of them very explosive because we're having eruptions underwater, literally underwater. We have no cascades at this time. And then red is the roaring 20s, where we're kind of back to BADR, we're back to basaltic lavas all the way up to super eruptions and massive caldera forming events in the 20s, between 29 and 20 million years ago. If you zoned out right now, I don't blame you because it seems like we're 1 million miles away from the Ellensburg Formation. And we can visualize almost I guess we should in this case, we can kind of imagine a layer cake geology. Now I think I will use my colors. So if we're in the Cascades, I will take the time to do this. There's hardly any stuff from the 50s, but whatever. Do you have questions while I'm doing this?
Yeah, we barely have any of the 50s. Is there places we commonly find fossils?
Good question. If there's hardly any 50s found in the Cascades, do we find them other places? Wow. I don't know. I've never had that question. Is that you, Gavin?
Yeah, I have something.
Austin.
I was just recently looking at fossils.
Fossils? In the Chuckanut.
Up around Bellingham area.
Good.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Chuckanut up there.
There is, and so the Chuckanut has fossils and the Swak Formation has fossils, but that stuff, okay, it's a tangent, I don't want to go down too far. I guess it still is in the Cascades. To say it's gone is wrong, but it's predating the Cascade Volcanic Arc. Maybe that's the better way to say it. So yeah, those rocks are still there. Okay. I think a few of you might be ahead of me here. You can see what we're about to do. But for everybody else, let's do it. Is this the sawdust or is this the buzzsaw? Is this part of the I'm going to do something over here. Is this whole picture, what is this mountain range? That's the Cascades. And according to what I drew in the bold open, it's the buzzsaw. It's going to be the buzzsaw when? When are we going to, we haven't done the buzzsaw yet. All I've been doing so far is marching through time, Grand Canyon style, and getting younger and younger bedrock stacked on top of the stuff below it. And that's still true. You go to Mount Rainier National Park and you ignore that beautiful cone and you look at all the rugged stuff in the low country, you do see this sequence, more or less. It's been folded a little bit. There's other unconformities, but we're pretty good. So according to this class, when are we going to start the buzzsaw? Which is another way of asking, when are we going to start the uplift? Last week we said 3. That's a long time to wait.
Between 20 and 1.
Jack is into this uplift thing. He's really jazzed by this uplift thing. And Jack's wanting to be as cautious as possible. And he says, how about we do the buzzsaw between 20 million years ago and 1 million years ago? Because Jack, that is our unconformity. You know the symbol for an unconformity? It was almost like the jagged thing I just drew. Clever. Gross. Instructor calling himself clever. It is third person Thursday, James. Nick Zentner was clever, making a jagged skyline as well as an unconformity symbol. So I like that, Jack. Somewhere between 20 and 1, we're going to do some uplift. And if we take Lydia's Zoom interview from tomorrow, or where did we get the number 3, by the way? I kind of forget, to be totally honest. Where'd that come from?
Bunch was happening at 3. The rivers were.
What were they using, though?
We got it from Jim and Lydia talking about Hell's Canyon and whatnot. Didn't we?
But did we have evidence for it? The Simcoe was between 4 and 1, a lava dam that they think they have in the Columbia Gorge, and we had a lake upstream of the Simcoe Volcanics where we're burning our brakes going down to Biggs Junction, and then we suddenly release, we break the lava dam and we release the lake water, and the thinking is at that time we cut Hell's Canyon, we do all sorts of stuff. Thank you, Ryan. That's exactly what we were saying. That's why we're in the neighborhood of 3. Well, today we have evidence for uplift older than that. It's between 11 and 7. So let's make our sawdust pile I'm just curious if anybody's anticipating what we're going to do. You've read the paper. You've been alerted that this is a concept. This is going to be a thick pile of Upper Ellensburg, roughly between 11 and 7. We'll wait till next week to see what dates Gary really does have from some of the airfall. But obviously I've set this up where I'm going to show you something in this basin beneath Ryan's house in Sela that's going to be proof that we have massive sawdust action and massive buzzsaw action between 11 and 7. More than twice as old as what we said last week. Anybody want to try it? I'm blowing Sabrina's mind. What are you surprised by?
Well, don't take me for it. But if you're saying that you have evidence that we have this sawdust, you have to have that wood coming up
Right?
out of the saw
Right?
to then get deposited as the sawdust.
Yeah.
You have to have these 20s and 30s in the dust.
They must be in the dust.
That's crazy.
Well, okay, Sabrina's like that, but it's going to get better. Hold on to yourself now, girl. Do whatever you need to do. I don't want you to just melt as a puddle over there. We're going to find these different colors in that pile of sawdust. I got my colors ready from Oscar. We have it. I know somebody has this. Ryan. Upside down rainbow. So what am I going to draw? I'm going to put colors. Is this what the so-called science communication experts call an aha moment? They keep telling me how to teach effectively, and I haven't been following along, but they say they have aha moments in class. This is the first time I've ever experienced. I literally heard somebody say aha, and then someone else said aha, aha, aha. And Sabrina's just full recline mode over there. If you want to go back and watch the last 5 minutes of the Gary Smith thing sometime, I know you're burned out and everything else. Right at the end, he basically says, look, and I didn't follow it at the time, right? My wife's in the hospital and everything else. I'm like, But then I just listened to it last week, and I'm like, I totally get it. He said, look, we went to the Nile Basin or the Natchez Basin or any of these sawdust piles. I think I was calling them sandboxes at the time. He said, we just took out all the daysite mentally. We just took out all the other stuff that is telling this coherent story about the volcaniclastic sources. And we looked for the other stuff. And it came from the Cascades. And we kept finding the Fife's Peak Formation, which is the red roaring 20s. It's not a ton of it. It's not the dominant thing. I'm not backing away. It's mostly daysite in this pile. We know that. We're just now hunting for the foreign stuff, the exotic stuff in the sawdust. And we have a rainbow. We have different colors of the rainbow. But the sand and the cobbles is the opposite color pattern. This is the bedrock color pattern, the bedrock age pattern, Grand Canyon style. You know what I mean? I keep saying that. I think you know what I mean. Well behaved, layer on top of layer up. But here, it's a bunch of loose, just think cobbles and sand. And how did they get there? They got carried by rivers, man. We need somebody to move the sawdust away from the high energy buzzsaw and get it into this quiet place. I'm feeling more and more of you get it, whether you're saying aha out loud or not. Like if we start the uplift, who's the first to go? What color's the first bedrock that's going to get moved? Red. The red's up here. And you're like, well, no, Jack. Maybe you want, like, I want to start with the 2. I want to start with the 5. I want to start with the 7. I guess, but it's not there. So that brings up an interesting question that I'm having right now.
Is that what's on the west?
Jack's like, okay, what color is the... All right, so here's Ohanapakash underwater, Roaring 20s, Fife's Peak, calderas. If you know Mount Aches caldera or some of these other Bumping River, tough. Some of you went there last fall with Hannah and Chris. I picked alternating yellow and brown. Why? For the teens. You can do this. Why? These are the CRBs. James was watching the alphabet too. Thank you. So these are the flood basalts. Grand Ron, whatever. We're going to see that from Andrew. Why did I pick yellow? That's Ellensburg form. Lower, barely Ellensburg. I wasn't using that. But then I had purple for the aughts. Bedrock in the Cascades that's younger than 10. And that includes the Goat Rocks volcanic project, which starts 3.2 million years ago. Haley Finch working with 3.2 stuff. Sabrina working with Mount Baker stuff. Purple. So I'm caught right now. Is there really purple and brown and stuff down here? Is that the first to go, Jack? I don't know. Which is, I guess what I'm saying is was there a bunch of, oh shit, there we go. Did the flood basalts cross the Cascades? This is too perfect. I did 3 lectures downtown in Ellensburg right before we started this class. That's why we didn't meet the first Thursday. I was getting ready for those. And the last night was a lecture called, Did the Flood Basalts Cross the Cascades? In other words, was there brown flood basalt, Grand Ron, that was in the Cascades? And since that lecture, guess who actually found Grand Ron at Goat Rocks? These 2 bad bitches right there in the front row. So, breaking news from the front row, there was some Grand Ronde high in the Cascades. So should we find, how did we get into this? I asked the question 7 minutes ago, didn't I? What's the first color to go? I don't think you all said red, because you were probably ahead of me. Maybe I'm getting hung up, but how much Ellensburg Formation was high in the Cascades? I'm ignoring you right now. I'm not into you at all, Nick. Jesus Christ. But I don't know now if Ellensburg Formation is truly a peripheral thing or if there was a cover of Ellensburg Formation. I don't even really know why that would be, but it's an interesting question in the moment with you. Was there a bunch of teens and aughts bedrock that got hauled out of there when we first started the uplift? I don't know. But we do have this relationship. So let's go back to what I was planning to do and make sure that everybody can see it. Do we all see this color pattern? And do we understand why the last stuff to arrive is the oldest bedrock? Can someone verbalize it? Why is this oldest bedrock at the top of the sandbox? Jack, you're so into this, Jack, go.
As you're climbing up,
Yes.
you know, and you have that, let's say it's a bandsaw on top.
Band.
The thing that's climbing up.
Yeah.
Getting rid of everything until the very end of the bedrock.
Yes.
Bedrock's going to be deposited last, basically. It's the end of the stick.
Let's see. What's a bandsaw? Is bandsaw like this, or is there a bandsaw? Well, is there a saw like this?
Yeah.
Except for like a Batman cartoon?
Bad analogy, but it works.
I got you. So a circular saw, so I can spruce this up. No pun intended, because we're talking about wood. Nick Zentner is impressive today. What can I say? Nick doesn't agree, but everybody else seems to be okay. These are railroad ties. Big fat railroad ties of different colors. And we're going to chew up this entire railroad tie, and pieces of the railroad tie is going to be down here. And so Jack is saying, we're not going to get any of this oldest wood until we get the wood to the surface. The rivers need to get a hold of this stuff and get it out of there. We're not going to erode it when it's underground. We got to get it up to the surface. Okay, I think we've all got it by now. That's the inverted rainbow, and that's the thing I was telling the two ranchers on Monday morning, just verbally. I'm like, see if you guys can follow this, and they're like, yeah. Is there more? That's not that hard. And I didn't even have my colored chalk, and it worked. So you're like, okay, what's the answer? When are we uplifting? Last week it was starting 3 million years ago as a hypothetical. If we're working with the Ellensburg Formation cobbles 40 years ago from Gary Smith from New Mexico, he thinks roughly between 11 and 7. There is major uplift in the Cascades. I don't think he's stopping it at 7. But within this pile, between 11 and 7, he has a bunch of stuff that's very difficult to explain unless you're doing massive amounts of uplift next door. I don't know how else you get these cobbles. How do you get your Ohanapekosh cobbles seen? 800 feet below Highway 12 by the diner. Like, how are you supposed to do that? Because it's supposed to be all up here in bedrock form, and it's a bunch of loose cobbles that are apparently around it as well. You have to uplift them and get them out of there by rivers, and you can't get a hold of them until you uplift. That's why I think this is such an apparently simple and exciting way to tell this story. Totally unknown to me 2 weeks ago. Any more reaction to this? Faye? How quickly does uplift occur? There are ways to measure that. I'm not going to have an intelligible answer for you. Boy, how can I do it even casually? And remember, we don't know why the uplift is happening either. And so I honestly don't have an answer. There's X number of vertical feet per million years or something, but I don't know how that's calculated. And it was Gavin or somebody last week that said, can't we make everybody happy? Can't we have this? Maybe this is not the most sexy of uplift stories, but it's kind of a gradual uplift that's been going on between 11 and 7. And then maybe Lydia and everybody's super excited because they have this major acceleration to break the Simcoe lava dam and other things. Sure. But remember, Lydia wants the entire Hell's Canyon to be carved in 2 million years. I'm going to hear about that tomorrow. And is that just ignoring this stuff? Or is it adding another layer of complexity? I got 3 minutes left. I'll give you a sneak peek for next week. We have 4 lectures left. I don't know if you've looked at the calendar. We have a long weekend. Hopefully you'll all get away. Whether it's on the Geology Club trip or not, you'll just get away mentally and physically and just reset yourself, because some of you you need a break. Maybe we all need a break. But when we come back for the final 4, our final 4 lectures, I'm definitely going to a master's thesis that looked carefully at the Old Scab Mountain and looked carefully at the Nile Basin, and I read this morning. This is next week's stuff. It's mostly primary stuff in the Nile, meaning we're talking about all this reworking and the rivers screwing up with the piles and everything and making it difficult. Apparently this Nile Basin is like right next to this volcano, and stuff is just dumping in there, like 15 lahars, bunch of pyroclastic flows just tumbling right into this grave, essentially. So I'm extra excited. My wife wants to go hiking this weekend. I think we're going to the Nile Basin. She's like, what? Business and pleasure. We're going to go there and check out, see if I can find some of those layers in the Nile Basin. I know we're going there. Carly Prater graduated not long, was it just last spring? Yeah. She did a senior thesis at Thorpe, and she has a new date, and she has Cooper as the source of the Thorpe. So that's going to confirm some of what we're talking about. Sam Van Lanningham, one of the first guys I ever convinced to become a geology major here in the early 1990s. did a undergraduate thesis at the base of Menashtash, and he thought the source was Old Scab. So I'm remembering, that's why I made that video. That stuff in our valley came from here. So I need to find Sam's thesis, digitize it somehow. That steel red case has been in here for 30 years. That's Sam's thin sections and Sam's rock samples from Mellergard Road. I've always meant to do something with it. Better late than never. I'm doing it now with you guys. So that's what I have in mind currently, unless Lydia really blows my mind tomorrow and we go back to all that snake stuff again. Okay? Great weather for a great field trip opportunity for so many of you. I'll see you at the parking lot. We're leaving at 1:15. 2 vans and a car. 1:15. Thank you.
You need one of these.
Probably technically a genius. For who?
You kept calling yourself a genius.
Oh, third person.
Nick Zentner is a genius.
Nick Zentner. It's third person Thursday. Nick Zentner is probably technically a genius.
There you go.
Thank you. Hi.
Two things right quick.
Of course.
I'm just wondering, is Old Scab Mountain a lake, a mountain, a volcano? Because could it be similar to Cooper Lake where it's like an extinct?
I think both of these both of these white X's with a circle are domes of dacite. They're truly a mountain made out of this dacite bedrock. So Cooper Lake is just in the neighborhood, and I don't really have a name. It's the Cooper Lake area. I think there's Cooper Pass. I really don't know. I need to do that, figure out exactly what the mountain is, where the mountain is that is the source for the Thorpe. But I was reading about Old Scab, and it truly, if we go there and we drive up Bumping River Road, it's like, there it is. That whole thing is a dome of dacite, Old Scab Mountain.
And then the other one is the extent. I just want to know if there's any relation to the Ice Age, like the glaciers. Because I'm so confused by this buzzsaw, but it goes down so far, like in comparison to the Cascades where the ice sheet doesn't go down. So is there no relation between...
Let's try this, Raquel. Do we still have that sketch? We do. Hang on just a sec. You still want to talk?
Yes, sure. Oh, wait.
Hang on just a sec, Scene. I'm going to get these guys. Do you want to talk too? No. Okay. You'd like to talk? So
Yes.
can you guys share two
Yes.
mics with 3 people?
We can share.
You guys, best that I don't hold them up here to these guys. Can you introduce yourself and then start answering questions? Why don't you start, Indigo? Would you like to introduce yourself to these guys up here?
Hello, my name is Indigo. I'm a sophomore geology BS major, and this has been one of the best classes I've ever taken ever.
I'm Nicolette. I'm a geology BA major and a secondary education major. And I've been waiting for 3 years to take this class, so I'm super excited to be taking this class.
I'm Jess, post-baccalaureate, and agreed, this is incredible. Yeah.
Great.
Questions?
So, what do we have? Oh, where are you from? Hello. I'm from Richland, Washington in the Tri-Cities, so I'm used to looking at a bunch of glacial deposits from the end, so that's just, yeah, the White Bluffs are right. I can see them outside my bedroom window. They're like 20 miles away, but I can see them.
I'm from the west side over in Woodinville, Washington, kind of by the Bothell area, so I'm used to looking at trees and the Cascades from a distance.
I'm originally, from New Mexico, but lived in Seattle for a long time, and they're both geologically incredible places. Then my dad's in Colorado, so I don't know. I'm just surrounded by incredible geology all the time.
Great. What else do we got? Tri-Cities, look into the camera. Okay. Hello.
Questions are a
How do you do in the midterm?
Pretty well.
Good.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah.
Good. Better
Yeah.
than I thought I did.
Yeah. That's Always good. What else?
Yeah.
How many geology majors in the department now? I heard from Nick
not-
last week, 20.
I did not hear 20. I heard
20, and it's the
30s.
most we've ever had.
In the geology major?
only 20.
I think there's 30s. There's a lot
There
of
has to be
people in
more
that
than 30.
picture.
No, I think it's 20.
Really?
Okay, well, I heard. I think I heard him say 90, but maybe that was me simply mishearing him.
Or that might be students
I think
in
there's-
geology class. 20 geology
I
declared.
think there might be 20 in your guys' cohort.
But you also have to add A. There's that, and B, because there are 27 people going on 210 at the
That
very
doesn't
least.
mean that they're all geology majors.
Oh, are you including like environmental science
Anyway, we're
majors?
arguing about
now
things
we're
we don't
having
know
now we're
about.
distracted. Sorry. Anyway, what else?
Nick's field trips are great. He gives us our freedom, but he's also there for questions. Really, really fun to run around the countryside with professional geologists.
Yeah.
Favorite field trip. I took Hannah's volcanology winter quarter. That was a trip to Hawaii. That was my favorite field trip.
So what I'm hearing here, Nicolette, is that you really like going to Hawaii.
You know, yeah.
Wait, was it about Hannah or was it about Hawaii?
It was about Hawaii.
See?
It was so fun.
Yeah. My favorite field trip is the one to the Saddle Mountains Quarry because it was just, this whole class has basically just been me realizing that sedimentary rocks are a lot more interesting than I thought they were. And that was one of the great big, ooh, look at all this great stuff, because Andrew Sadowski was there and Sky Cooley was there, and both of them were super on fire with
We had
everything.
3 professional geologists at our beck and call. That one was actually so fun, despite that it was like the shortest hike and a quarry from. But yeah, that
They
one was
were on
one of them.
fire.
Yeah,
All 3 of them. Well,
yeah.
Nick was less. We just weren't with Nick, but those 2 were
It was great.
going and
I
going
think
and
that
going.
was my favorite also.
Yeah, yeah.
How do we get a geology club shirt? You can order that.
We are not doing an order. We will be doing
We
another.
just did that.
Exactly. We did just do one. It's over. Next quarter, next school year, so probably in September or October, we will get another link going.
And those do help the geology department incredibly. They help fund these field trips. So yeah.
Like
yeah,
this
please do
this
get-
weekend, we're going to Bend, Oregon with the Geology Club. We're going to go to lava tubes and also other stuff. I don't remember. If James was not gone, we could ask him. Does Jess remember?
You guys
Where-
go to lava
where-
tubes and stuff.
I said that. I said lava tube.
Yes.
And the obsidian.
We're going to go
yes.
collect obsidian and sell it at the place.
Gonna raise money for geology
Yeah,
club.
that's what we do.
Because aren't you guys going to Glass Butte?
Yeah.
Yes,
there you
we
go.
are in
Glass
fact
Butte
going to
call.
Glass Butte. I just forgot. Thank you so much, Nicolette.
Yes.
Did you see olivine sand in Hawaii?
We did not go to the olivine sand, sadly. We were going to go there, but timing, it did not work out for us to go there, sadly.
What do we have?
What are we looking at?
Newbury Volcano, is that legal? We are going to a
Hopefully.
place where it is
We'll-
legal. James did in fact check.
We'll apply or we'll apologize later. If
Yeah.
not. Just kidding.
Can we contribute directly to Geology Club? There might be a way to do that. I don't know how.
We can get back to you on that.
We will think about that. I have some ideas. How much does... Have you done much hiking? None. I've never been properly hiking in the North Cascades. Have either of you?
Sahale Arm Glacier. I
Great.
touched it with my tongue.
I don't know where that is, but you guys probably do.
I want to go to Iceland
Everyone,
so
Yeah.
bad.
Iceland is gonna be.
Oh my gosh.
Iceland would be so great. It's cold and it's volcanoes and it's yeah.
I went to Alaska over summer and I was just
Wow,
there,
that's
like, I want to go.
that's the
I
same
wanna
thing.
Go to Iceland so bad.
Volcanoes,
No, but there were
Fish?
glaciers. Which
glaciers.
in Alaska.
Yes, that means cold.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on. What else do we have? You missed a spectacular visit to the well.
I know. I want to go to Green Sands Beach. I want to go. Another trip. I had to save some things to go again.
Yeah,
Rock
or else
I couldn't get it all done.
No reason to go
Yes,
again.
We are a room full of rock lickers. Mine was ice, personally.
No, I will be paying attention next fall. Thank you. What about Vesuvius and Campi Flegrei? I don't know what the specific, if that.
Yeah.
Do we have
Campi-
the funding for Italy? I don't know if
Oh,
we have that
we
kind
do-
of funding.
we do
We're
not
gonna
have the
definitely
money for
need
that.
More donations to the Geology
I don't
Fund
know if
to
that
make
was the
happen.
question about that. What else do we have? Glass butte is legal. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dale.
Thanks, Dale.
I missed the initial eruption. No, this is blasphemy.
Not everybody in this room was alive for the initial, for the last St. Helens eruption
Yeah.
either.
Initial in the
No,
sense of
yeah.
compared to the 2004.
Like,
thing.
nobody in this room was alive for the initial
Yeah.
St. Helens eruption.
Nick was.
I don't think for the initial, that was what, like 500?
Oh, you mean that initial? Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good?
Yes. We'll keep going.
Keep going for a few more?
Yeah.
Good.
We
What
got
kind
time.
of work are we looking to do? I am looking to play in the mountains professionally, as well as play with rocks professionally.
I have no idea what I'm gonna do for work. I want to get through student teaching and actually decide if teaching is something I like before I set that in stone, I guess.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah. And then I'm looking into going into like something like relating to like maybe civil engineering adjacent. I don't know if that's set in stone, but I kind of want to do something where I'm doing in the sense of, yeah, I don't know. That didn't make any sense. Let's go with that. Geotechnical engineering, technical term. Have you been to Craters of the Moon? Have I been to Craters of the Moon? I went there. It was really great. Yeah, oh, it's Andrew. Sorry. It's a young lava flow from, I think I heard 6,500. It's very pretty. It's young. The basalt is very rough. There's a bunch of nice cinder cones. There was this one big cinder cone that had like the middle of it had collapsed and there was snow down there, and it was July. It wasn't July, it was June. Anyway, and it was really good. I would recommend going there. It is really, really far away though from anything. It's like 2 hours away from Idaho Falls, which is like 6 hours away from, no, it's far away from anything, but it is worth trying to get up there. What else do we got? Have you swam in Crater Lake? I've been to Crater Lake. I didn't get down into the lake because that's very hard, apparently.
Never been to Crater Lake.
You should. It's pretty good.
Aren't they not recommending you? Aren't they banning swimming for a bit to let? I don't know.
That's a
Let's
great
not
question.
quote
I
us
don't
on
pay
that.
attention because I don't.
We're
I just
busy
don't think about
currently.
Crater Lake very much, unfortunately. What else do we have? Teach geology. That sounds like a Nicolette problem.
It's fun.
I know. I mean,
I taught a lesson about fossils and it was so fun.
That's paleontology. Anyway, I thought about it and then I realized that I don't have the patience for children, I guess.
Same. I'm
Yeah.
scared of them.
They're so funny though.
What else? Oh, thank you, David. I don't know where I pulled 6,500 from. Sorry about that.
Time's the problem, I think.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I think we should probably get going.
Cool.
We're gonna go play
Thank
with
you
Andrew
very
now.
much.
Thank
We're gonna
you.
go. Andrew's gonna drag us to God knows where. Thank you.
Okay. Where? Okay, just put them down, I guess. All right. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
And even some stuff above, some Ellensburg above. I don't know why, but let's put it there. And then we uplift. Does that help you or hurt your story? Okay.
They wanted validation.
They got it. They're working. They're thinking. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Andrew Sadowski. Hey, Andrew, do you want to talk to these guys for a second? So we're going out with Washington Geological Survey field geologist Andrew Sadowski. And if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you've seen a few field videos with Andrew, and Andrew's giving his time this afternoon. Would you mind holding that in front of you? Sure. You can just hold it just like this if you like. So say hi to these guys, Andrew. Hello. And maybe give us a little sense. I'm not going to film this afternoon. I want to focus on Andrew and the students. We're going to mentally go back to Grand Ronde time.
Yep.
So can you tell these guys maybe a little quick version of the 4 stops and what we're hoping to see?
Yeah, so there are going to be 4 stops, mostly all along the edge of Kittitas Valley. Like you said, we're looking at kind of grander on time, but moving kind of progressively up, looking
Yes.
at lower Ellensburg, starting with some of these named units that you've heard a lot of kind of a few weeks ago, like the Coleman and then the Vantage and Limoma Creek. And then our fourth stop is going to be in Yakima Canyon, kind of looking at a really nice exposure between the Thrall Anticline, which has all those orchards up on top of it, and then moving south towards the Menashdash kind of anticline or ridge that's there. And so in this little straight part of the river, and if you've been down Yakima Canyon, you know there's like a really large pullout. We're going to be parking there, and the final stop is going to be like, hey, let's like look at what do you think's going on. You've learned about all these units this year, so
Well, privately, we haven't talked ahead of time, but privately, I'm hoping at each of the 4 stops, we can use some of our blue and red tools, like Cascade Yes, Cascade No, looking for hornblende, looking for pumice, looking for dayside. So that would be ideal if we could get a couple little clues, and I think you've got a little bit of that at a couple of the outcrops.
No, we will have that. I think like where it gets tricky is where we're at the state of the science and like the Vantage, and it's like what facies are we in if we don't quite have, say, the hornblende.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I need to close this up and get ready. I'll see you out there in 10 minutes. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so we're going to be out till about 7 o'clock tonight and enjoying the expertise from Andrew. We'll see how many show up. These are not required field trips, but most of the group is into it. As you could see, we had an extra electric post-class discussion, so that always means that things worked. And I really enjoyed today. I hope you did too. So, thank you, everybody. I love you, and goodbye from Ellensburg, Washington, USA, home of the balloons that are perpetually filling the air in this celebratory place we call a classroom, where most of the high-paid administrators have never been. But those of us at the bottom of the food chain doing the work, this is where we belong. How about that for a little knife twist at the end? Thank you, everybody. See you on Tuesday. Goodbye. Oh, I need to give your window shot. I have to stick with the format.